Your phone buzzes. You feel it before you even think about it. Your hand is already moving. You already know there's a good chance it's nothing. An ad. A notification you don't care about. A group chat you'll skim and ignore. And yet you check it anyway. Every single time. You've probably tried to explain this to yourself. Boredom, habit, bad discipline. But none of those really hold up. Because you check your phone even when you're not bored. You check it in the middle of conversations you care about. You check it seconds after you just checked it. The real answer is far stranger than boredom or bad discipline. Your brain is running a system that is millions of years older than the phone in your hand. And that system was never built to resist this. Here's where it starts. Not with an app, not with a notification, with food. Picture a small group of early humans moving through a landscape. There's no supermarket, no steady supply of anything. Food shows up in patches, a cluster of berries here, a dead branch with grubs underneath it, a stream that sometimes has fish and sometimes doesn't. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing arrives on a schedule. This is the exact condition that scientists studying animal behavior call foraging under uncertainty. And it turns out, uncertainty doesn't make animals give up. It does the opposite. A researcher named Philippe Anselme, working with owner Günther Kuhn, studied exactly this. They found that when food access becomes unpredictable, animals don't search less. They search harder, longer, more persistently. The brain treats unpredictability as a signal to keep trying, not a signal to stop. Think about why that makes sense. If food showed up in the same spot every single day, you'd only need to check once. Job done. But if it might be there, might not be there, might show up somewhere new, the only way to not miss it is to keep checking. Constantly. There's a related idea in this same field called the marginal value theorem. It describes something specific. When an animal is feeding at one patch, at what point should it give up and move to a new one? The answer isn't when the patch is empty. It's earlier than that. It's the moment the current patch's payoff drops below what the animal could expect to find somewhere else. In other words, the brain is constantly running a background calculation. Is it worth staying here? Is it worth checking somewhere new? That calculation never fully switches off. It just changes what it's calculating about. The animals who kept checking survived the lean seasons. The ones who gave up too early, who assumed the silence meant nothing was coming, starved when the pattern shifted and they weren't paying attention. That pressure ran for millions of years. It didn't stop when agriculture showed up. It didn't stop when cities showed up. It's still running right now, in you, aimed at a small glass rectangle instead of a berry bush. But there's a piece of this that goes even deeper than food. It's not really about the reward. It's about not knowing whether the reward is coming. This is where a scientist named Wolfram Schultz changed how everyone understood the brain's reward system. Working with primates, Schultz tracked the activity of dopamine neurons, while animals waited for a reward. The obvious guess would be that dopamine fires when the reward arrives. That's not what he found. Dopamine fired hardest when the animal wasn't sure the reward was coming at all. A guaranteed reward barely moved the needle. An uncertain one lit the whole system up. Let that sit for a second. Your brain doesn't get its biggest chemical response from getting something good. It gets its biggest response from not knowing if it's going to get something good. Certainty is almost boring to your nervous system. Uncertainty is what grabs it by the collar. Now, hold that idea next to your phone. Every time you unlock it, you don't know what's waiting. Maybe a message from someone you like. Maybe nothing. Maybe a like on something you posted. Maybe silence. You are, every single time, stepping into exactly the kind of uncertain reward structure that Schultz found lights up the dopamine system hardest. Not because the app is especially rewarding, because it's unpredictable. Your phone isn't giving you a reward. It's giving you the one thing your ancient reward circuitry is built to chase relentlessly. A question mark. This is also why turning off notifications doesn't fully fix the problem. You'd think removing the buzz would remove the urge. It reduces it. It doesn't erase it. Because the urge was never really coming from the notification. It was coming from the not knowing. Silence your phone completely and you'll still find yourself checking it out of nowhere, for no reason you can point to. That's not a broken habit. That's the foraging instinct, running exactly as designed, with no berries in sight. There's a second piece to this, and it's even stranger. Your brain doesn't only treat food or social approval as a reward. It treats information itself as a reward. A separate line of research, from Ethan Bromberg-Martin and Okihide Hikosaka, found that the same dopamine neurons that respond to food and water also respond to advance information. Just knowing something ahead of time. Not because that knowledge helps you get food right now, just because knowing feels like winning. This is why you check the score of a game you don't even care about. Why you refresh a page waiting for results that don't affect you. Why an unread notification badge feels like an itch you have to scratch, even when you already suspect it's nothing important. You're not actually after the content inside the app. You're after the resolution of the unknown. Your brain files, "I don't know yet," as a kind of hunger, and checking your phone is how you feed it. There's one more piece, and it might be the one that hits closest to home. For most of human history, you didn't survive alone. You survived inside a small, tightly bonded band, something in the range of 30 to 50 people who ate together, slept near each other, and depended on each other daily. Larger networks of extended kin existed beyond that, but the band was your immediate world. Your standing inside that band wasn't a minor social detail. It was closer to a survival resource. Being liked meant being fed when you couldn't hunt. Being trusted meant being warned when danger was near. Being excluded from the group in a landscape full of predators and food scarcity could be a death sentence. Because of that, your brain evolved a constant, quiet background process. Monitoring your status, checking where you stand. Am I still accepted here? Did that thing I said land badly? Is anyone upset with me? This wasn't paranoia. It was maintenance. A group member who was blind to shifts in social standing was a group member who could be pushed out without ever seeing it coming. Now put a phone in that same brain's hand. Every like is a tiny, ambiguous signal about your standing. Every text left unread is an unresolved question about where you stand with someone. Every message notification could be good news about your status or bad news about it, and you don't know which until you look. You're not checking your phone to see funny videos. Some deep, old part of you is checking to see if you're still safe inside the group. And because the group used to mean life or death, that part of your brain refuses to stay quiet for long. So here's the picture forming. An ancient foraging drive that rewards persistent checking under uncertainty. A dopamine system that fires hardest not at reward, but at not knowing if reward is coming. A separate hunger for information itself, treated by your brain the same way it treats food. And a status monitoring system built for a band of a few dozen people, now running on a network of millions. 4 different systems, evolved for 4 different reasons, all pointing at the same behavior. And modern technology didn't invent any of them. It just built a machine that presses all 4 at once, every few minutes, for free, in your pocket. That's the uncomfortable part. Nobody had to trick your brain into this. Your brain came preloaded with exactly the wiring this behavior needed. All modern design had to do was remove the friction. Your ancestors had to walk for hours to check if the berries were ripe. You have to move your thumb an inch. And here's the twist most people miss. This isn't a flaw in you. It's not weakness, and it's not a lack of discipline. It's a survival system that worked exactly as intended for 100,000 years, meeting an environment it was never designed to meet. The system isn't broken. The environment changed faster than the system could. Think about what that means the next time you catch yourself reaching for your phone for no reason. You're not failing at self-control. You're running code that once meant the difference between finding food before winter and not finding it at all. It just happens to be running in a world with unlimited, unpredictable inputs, arriving every few seconds, engineered by people who understand this system better than most of the people using it. This is also why willpower alone rarely wins against this. Willpower is a relatively new, effortful system, built on top of much older circuitry. Asking it to permanently override a foraging drive, a dopamine system tuned for uncertainty, and a status monitoring instinct forged over 100,000 years is asking a small, tired committee to overrule a force of nature. It can win in the short term. It struggles to win forever, especially when it's fighting 4 ancient systems at once, every single day, with no rest. What actually helps isn't willpower. It's changing the environment your ancient systems are reacting to. Remove the constant, unpredictable cues, and the foraging drive has nothing to check. Batch your notifications instead of letting them trickle in, and the dopamine system has fewer uncertain moments to chase. Reassure the status monitoring instinct in person with real conversation instead of ambiguous notifications, and it has less reason to stay on high alert. You're not overriding your ancient brain. You're giving it an environment closer to the one it actually evolved to handle. You probably won't stop checking your phone completely after learning this. That's not really the point. The point is understanding what's actually happening in that half second before your hand moves. It's not boredom. It's not weak willpower. It's 100,000 years of foraging instinct, an ancient hunger for resolved uncertainty, and a survival-grade need to know your place in the group. All aimed at a screen instead of a landscape, still doing exactly the job they were built to do. Tonight, your phone is going to buzz, and your hand is going to move before you've even decided to let it. You already know there's a good chance it's nothing. And that's exactly why you're going to check it anyway.